obviously there are issues near and dear to this community as well. San Francisco, the question is, the background is, San Francisco and cities around the Bay are facing troubling choices about public safety and the health, morale, and retirement benefits of police officers and firefighters. In the midst of the most severe financial difficulties in a generation. Meanwhile, violent crime rates appear to be heading back up after their long decline. So the question is, assuming that worse budget troubles are coming in the next few years, what kind of conversations will you be having with your police and fire chiefs about the difficult trade-offs you will have to make between balancing the budget and maintaining public safety? And how will you maintain morale in the police and fire departments in this environment?
Very simply, I don't see those two concerns as diametrically opposed to one another. I think that what we all got to understand is that public safety is not something that just some individuals within City Hall are interested in. It is all of our concern, and so to that extent, the police department is going to be part of the solution as to how we're dealing with crime. Not just simply on the law enforcement side, but also in terms of either prevention or making sure that our communities are safe through community policing. So I think at the end of the day, what I'm going to do, as what I will do with all departments, is that I'm going to bring all the individuals into my office and we're going to work it out. We're going to talk about what those solutions are and what those challenges are and how we're going to make ends meet. It's not about any one individual dictating to any department head, this is how we're going to do it, and then we're going to move on. We've got to be collaborative. These are different times. It's not about back in the days where you can have a chief executive that orders things. It is, in fact, about collaboration and bringing people together, and I think that's what I will always do.
One of the most important issues that San Franciscans care about is public safety. And for many of us, we know what it's like to feel threatened or to walk down a neighborhood where it doesn't feel safe. And I don't think we'd want that for any citizen here in San Francisco. So it's critical that we do what we always continue to do, is to make sure that the fire department and the police department are at the table when we're having all these budget discussions. I was excited about our former police chief, Chief Gascon, because he brought over a new system of accountability and stats to really make sure that we are operating the police department as efficiently as possible. As public servants, we need to make sure that every department in the city is operated as efficiently as possible. We need to be able to demonstrate it. One of the things that I'm hoping that our Chief Sir will continue to do is to make sure that we follow that and continue to demonstrate that efficiency and that accountability. Because the stat that everybody focuses on is really just the crime rate. But if the crime rate's up or down, it may not tell us really how safe we all feel or really how good a job we are doing with public safety.
Because of my 18 years working in city government, I focus again on outcomes. And I go back to, for example, wet housing or pre-treatment housing, where Seattle saved $4 million in the first year. So you know, we tragically lost 2 firefighters just a few weeks ago. And that firehouse on Digby in Diamond Heights was one of the ones that our city controller, Ed Harrington at the time, proposed to close. And I believe that cities exist based upon the strength of their public safety. And we have 2 outstanding chiefs in Joanne Hayes-White and Greg Sir. So you will not see me as mayor ever quibble as it relates to public safety. But I'm supporting George Gascon for DA because I believe he's transformative. And I do believe that where we see the waste, where we see thousands of infractions that are issued for illegal conduct and nothing happens, and we spend millions of dollars cycling paper around, and he's saying, I've arrested people most of my life, and I know we can do better. So I believe as mayor that I'm ready to partner with our chiefs and with our DA and really respect you as taxpayers. Thank you.
The single best thing to happen to the police department in the last 10 years was the appointment of Greg Sir. There's clearly no debating that. And along with Joanne Hayes-White, I agree with Bevan 100% that we are represented well. We have two very strong leaders who can take those departments where those departments need to go. And I think that we're going to see that for the first time in a very long time. When we look at public safety issues, they are really about budget priorities. Before I left the board, we passed legislation that would mandate the testing of every single rape kit in San Francisco. We don't test, or we did not test every single rape kit in San Francisco. When New York did it, they saw a 70% increase in catching the bad guys. It was remarkable. And what we found here in the city is that our resources were not being used the way that we needed to use them. Through simple pieces of legislation like that one, we were able to put and lock away a lot of people who should have been locked away. But it's a bigger issue too, because we also have issues related to public safety in terms of, in times of a natural disaster, which is something that we have to very much keep in mind. We no longer have the 6th Army Division in the Presidio, and we no longer have Alameda Naval Air Station. They provided 11,000 first responders for San Francisco after Loma Prieta. So we have to recognize that we are going to be putting more attention on our police and fire than ever before in case of a natural disaster, and that is something that we certainly need to be prepared for as we go into the future.
I had the good fortune of serving on the police commission from 1997 to 2001, being president for 3 of those years. And in my 9.5 years as city attorney, I am the lawyer who defends our public safety officers for the work they do each and every day. Police officers, firefighters, deputy sheriffs. And I can tell you one thing, that they are the first ones to step up to the plate when we have tough budgetary times. The fact of the matter is that police and fire came to the table to increase their contributions so we could come up with the consensus pension reform item that is on the ballot this November. And they have a history of foregoing raises to assure that they help with the city's budget deficit. The fact of the matter is that the selflessness that the police and firefighters display each and every day when they carry out their jobs is reflected on the sacrifices they make with respect to helping the city with its budget crisis as well. And I've had the good fortune of standing alongside them as I put together a groundbreaking gang injunction program that balanced the needs to protect public safety and also protect civil liberties. And you've seen gang violence reduced by over 50 or 60% in the areas where I imposed my gang injunctions, and we did it in a way that protected civil liberties. So I have every confidence in the world that I'll be able to work with Chief Sir and Chief Hayes-White to make sure that they continue their tradition of selfless service to the city and county of San Francisco.
As a former criminal prosecutor, I think that public safety has to be one of the most important priorities for our next mayor. And in the last couple of years, I've been proud to work with our San Francisco Police Department in ensuring that we're improving technology. We're actually making sure finally that every police officer has an email address. We are also working together to ensure that our police department have better capabilities vis-a-vis working with crime victims, providing services in the various languages that we have in San Francisco. Fire. Every few months, I stand with either our fire chief or our deputy fire chiefs in front of another fire in my district, which is one of the densest in the city. We know how incredibly important is the work that they do. And I was very proud to work with our firefighter union to make sure that we pass legislation to rebuild our fire stations in the event of future earthquakes, to rebuild our auxiliary water system. I've known Greg Sir and Joanna Hayes-White for years before either of them were promoted to be chiefs. I think they're doing an outstanding job, and I look forward to working with them and our incredible men and women in red and blue in the coming years. Thank you.
Maintaining our investment in police and fire and public safety is not a question, it's a must. And this is where we have to go back to how we budget. We have to maintain investments in these services that are critical to the needs of the community and find other ways to make cuts, not in police and fire. Also, a huge percentage of our police and fire workers don't live in the city. And one thing I will absolutely do is work with financial institutions to be able to provide accessible home loans so that our police and our fire can buy homes. You want to talk about predictable income and stability of a job? It's a great investment for a financial institution. It's something we absolutely have to do, and have more in police and fire living in our community, so when we have a disaster, we have people on the street right here that can help everybody.
Our public safety program is one of the most essential programs we have in San Francisco and any city. And I've been part of an effort to make sure that we can build trust between our public safety officers and communities. In my district, the Excelsior district, in 2008, we had about 8 homicides. It shook our neighborhood down to its core. The Bologna family, 3 members were shot down in June of that year. And for me, when we have incidents like that, it's essential that we bring people together. We hold neighborhood vigils, we bring police officers together in a community policing effort to get to know residents, and for residents to get to know them, to build trust. We've had forums with youth and with police officers to make sure that we can actually communicate better with one another. That's what community policing to me is about. It's based on relationship building, and that's the kind of work that I want to build together between communities and our police department in San Francisco. Thank you.
I believe the question was a 2-part question. The first part dealt with pension reform, and then how it affected our safety services, and then finally our police services. Let me be very clear here, folks. The pension reform plan, I don't care how much it's tweaked by Sean Ellsburn or Mayor Ed Lee, falls $300 million a year short, and your children are going to pay for it. It's going to be $700 million short in 4 years. My plan, as how it affects the police, would not penalize them. I certainly would cut out the overtime, the spiking, and the abuse of the pension plan that certain members of the police department have done. I come from a long generation, or many families of policing. To be a policeman, or a safety officer, or a fireman in San Francisco is like a vocation. You do it because of the nature of the work, not because of the pension benefits that it offers. As far as Joanne Hayes White and Greg Sir goes, I've known both of them for 30 to 40 years, and their parents. They would both, in my administration, if they did not moralize the wonderful children that we're sending them from the Sunset, the Mission, North Beach, if they cannot moralize and incentivize that police force, they would be out. And I know them both, they're both friends. Our young kids that we're sending them are top rate. There's no reason to have a crime rate in San Francisco like we've got. I believe in community policing. I believe in foot patrols. I believe that a certain number of our emergency services personnel should actually live in San Francisco in case we have a tsunami or an earthquake. That's where I would go with that.